Hi, it's Dr. Lori, and I'm going to tell you some of my best real-life bargain stories. Oh my gosh. So all of you are going, oh no, you can't get that much for it. Oh, appraisals are so high. Oh no, it's not true. Let me tell you. Real-life bargains. People who went to anywhere shopping, thrift store, yard sale, flea market, estate sale, anywhere, and found an object and were shocked when they sent it to me in some way, shape, or form, and I'll tell you how you can do that too, and basically learned what it really was, a correct identification, and how much it was worth, and where to sell it. Oh my gosh, terrific stories. I'm going to start right out of the chute with this story about marbles. Art glass round that look like marbles. Purchased at one of the thrift store online auction sites. You know those sites. A lot of people use them. You know, the sites where someone gives something, donates something to a Goodwill, a Salvation Army or such, and then those folks put up photographs of those objects in order to sell those objects for the good work that they do online. All right. So I have a client who is part of our Priority Ask Dr. Lori service, which is the service where you can have a monthly subscription, right? And unlimited evaluations, unlimited advice from me back and forth through email. All right. So he says, Dr. Lori, I bought a whole group of these particular objects on one of those online sites. And he said, you know, I was doing this and I put in a really low bid and then I thought, oh, maybe I really want these. And again, as with all the stories that I retell, I ask permission of the folks who, of course, had this experience before I go sharing it all with you, because some people want it to be confidential, and that's fine. But all the bargains I'm going to tell you about today, everybody said, yeah, Dr. Lori, share my story. So anyway, he's on the site and he puts in his bid and he's like, well, you know, and somebody else bids up this very large group of these art glass round spheres that are kind of the form of marbles. You can see them here. Very beautiful, wonderfully executed. You can also see the way in which they're bright colors, and you can see the control work of the glass artisan as he is making these particular marbles. So I look at these marbles, he sends them in on an email, and I said, how did you acquire them? And he said, well, I got them at this online thrift store auction. And what happened was, and what he was excited about was, he was able to get actually in right before the last seconds of the auction. So he put in a low bid. The next person who bids on this lot of these marbles puts in a pretty high bid. And he thought, well, you know, I'm going to go a couple dollars over that guy's high bid. And as my client explained, he said, you know, and I just got in under the wire. So he gets in under the wire and he gets this lot of about 60 of these beautiful marbles. And he sends them in for the unlimited evaluations program that we have. And he says, Dr. Lori, you know, I don't know what these are. Well, in fact, they were attributed to a very famous glass artist. And there are artists who are very famous for making paperweights or marbles. Now, contemporary artists, not artists who were working in the early 1900s, but contemporary artists who are working now in this particular art form to revive an art form. You know, like John Simpson, who's the great glass artist of paperweights or Cathelin, or those kinds of things. In this particular case, these particular marbles were very similar to an American artist who is known for making these particular types of forms. Beautiful colors, radiant pieces, wonderful execution in art history. That means how they made it, you know, wonderful pieces. So I start to evaluate them based on the photographs and based on the information and based on my research. And I find that each individual marble is worth about $250 to $300 a piece. And he's got 60 of them. So get out your phone and get out the calculator on your phone and do the math. The math comes out to several tens of thousands of dollars for these particular marbles, for the whole set. So he gets a whole collection, not a set, but a whole collection, off of a $481 investment on the online auction site. If you think that these particular pieces aren't valuable just because you have them, you're wrong. So this happens. The story continues. He starts to post them on online auction sites so he can sell them. He says, you know what, I don't need them. I'm going to start to post them. And people start to say, oh no, it's not this, it's not that, oh, they're wrong, oh, they're this, trying to get the price down. It is a very typical thing that happens, trying to get the price down by discrediting the seller. So if you're a seller out there, you want to think about that. If you're a buyer out there, you also want to think about that. Understand what the other guy is doing in your transaction. Buyer, you want to understand what the seller is doing. Seller, you want to understand what the buyer is doing. And basically, try to understand what's happening. They knew that those were wonderful. They knew that those were valuable, but they wanted to convince the seller that his pieces weren't that great. Get the real story, get it from me. So here's another great bargain story. One of my clients sends in a picture through our online appraisal service. So that's where you send a photo of the front, photo of the back, any markings or signatures, and tell me how you acquired the piece. And I'll get back and say, do you need a written appraisal report, right? So some people need written reports and want a written report. So I find sales records. I include a sales record, and most appraisers don't. I include a sales record with, of course, our online appraisal service. And I prepare this report. So she says, well, Dr. Lori, I went to a Goodwill store, and you can actually see the object that she purchased. She purchased a Dresden coffee pot. This particular pot that some people will call chocolate pots. It is a ceramic, porcelain, hand-painted, hand-gilded, even with the bow. Look at the bow at the bottom of the spout. Of course, gilded handles, details like the finial with the gilding, all the gold leaf on the piece. Hand-painted, signed, gorgeous example of course, the great German Dresden ceramics. So she buys this piece, and you can see the adhesive sticker on it, $9.99 on the actual piece, is the price that Goodwill wanted. Now let me just say this about Goodwill. They're wonderful, terrific, Goodwill, Salvation Army, any of the thrift stores. You're doing good things for charities. It's great that you're shopping there. Don't put the stickers on the object right in the center. I mean, they put the sticker with that adhesive right on that object. When you pull it off, you know, some of the hand painting might come with it, some of the glaze might come with it. You really are going to damage the pieces. So for your own sake, try not to do that. And, you know, politely tell these folks, maybe they could put it on the bottom as opposed to right smack on the side. Anyway, so that particular sticker, though, tells you how much she paid. She paid $9.99 for this gorgeous piece. So she sends it to me, and I do the research, and I recognize it as Dresden, and I prepare a written report for her, and that piece is worth $400. Amazing, beautiful. Not a scratch on it. So after she takes off the adhesive, I said, how did it go with taking off the adhesive? And she said that she used some instructions that she had found actually to get the adhesive off. You want to try to, again, take that adhesive off very, very carefully. And you also want to remember that you don't want to use any kind of harsh commercial cleaners to, in fact, remove the adhesive and the stickers. But those stickers, man, if you've got those stickers, you want to identify your stuff for your kids. You know, people like to do that when they get those stickers in the mail, you know, from like St. Jude's Children's Hospital or the March of Dimes or something. It's got your name and address on them. Please, the stickers only on the bottom or no stickers at all. Talk to your kids. Tell them you're going to leave them the chocolate pot. But that was a gorgeous example, a beautiful bargain as well. For $9.99, she got a $400 piece. Why? Because she was looking in the right place and she understood where to find the correct identification. Here's another great story. This story is from one of my other priority service members who has a subscription with me, and she actually sends in this picture. So she sends in this picture, and I always make everybody show me the front and the back, right? And the back is important, and the foundation of the piece is important, and there's a lot of information that you can find from the back. I got the wrong, can't find my film, I got the wrong hand over here. So basically, but when I always talk about the back, and many of you who subscribe to the YouTube channel know that, you know, there's certain things you look for on the back: color of the canvas, stretcher, that's a stretcher, you know, does it have staples, does it have nails, this kind of thing when you're looking at a painting. Well, sometimes these paintings are, in fact, sometimes they're prints and they look like paintings because, you know, there's a lot of tricks out there between oleographs and serigraphs and prints and cliches, all these kinds of pieces. And sometimes they're actual original works of art, oil on canvas, acrylic on canvas. But a lot of folks can't tell the difference, and that's totally understandable. You know, you can't always tell the difference because there are a lot of factors that are impacting that piece. So a frame could hide a lot of information. You know, maybe it's signed, but you're not sure if it's signed actually on the actual piece or if it's signed and printed on. A lot of things are going on, which is why here I try to teach you what to look for, how you can identify whether you have an original or a reproduction of some kind. And a lot of those reproductions, let me tell you, they look pretty good. So you got to really know what you're looking for. So I said to this woman, and we went back and forth, of course, through our email correspondence, and I said, show me a picture of the back, show me a picture of the front, show me a close-up of the signature. Now, I don't really care about the signature, I gotta admit to you. Years in museums, a Ph.D. in art history, a million books, jump through all the hoops in academia, you know. I look at the signature to see whether or not it's correct, but that is not the first thing for me. I like to understand what's happening with the actual object. How did the artist make it? Why did he use the solutions that he used? What kind of brushstroke am I looking at? What kind of materials am I looking at? Was varnish included within the pigment? Was the pigment applied without varnish? Is there gesso? Is there rabbit skin glue? There's a million things I'm going to look at when I'm looking at a work of art. And people say, Dr. Lori, I don't know how you do this. Well, I do this based on a lot of experience. I've really done this a whole long time. Thank God I love it. Having said that, anyway, she says to me, okay, Dr. Lori, you know, I got this piece because my job is to clean up after estate sales. So an estate sale goes on. The estate sale experts, of course, go in. They sell all the pieces. They market all the pieces. They advertise to the local community. They host an estate sale. You've been to them. You know them. You get it. So this person comes in after the estate sale people are done. They've checked out all the money, they've got all the sales done, they made sure that the buyers got their pieces, they made sure that the sellers actually got whatever, they took their percentage, however they did it, all done. So she goes in and she cleans up before the realtors come in and say, okay, the house is now on the market, right? So she's this intermediary person. She says, I'm allowed to take what I want. So basically, the estate sale people have sold everything off that they think they can sell or can sell. The estate sale is completed. The estate sale people have decided, all right, these particular pieces now can go, right? And this woman is allowed to take her pieces. So she takes this particular work of art. And I look at this work of art through a photograph, and I said, okay, I'd like to see the back. So I see the back, and the back is indeed a stretcher, right, with a canvas. Right? Now, remember, there are reproductions of objects called oleographs that also have stretchers and canvas. They reproduce the image of the painting on the front, right? Although it's not an original painting. So you really have to know what you're looking for, right? So what you're looking at and whether or not it's authentic. So I look at this piece and I recognize it as a relatively well-known work of an artist in the early part to the mid part of the 20th century named Bernard Cathelin. Bernard Cathelin is a French artist, relatively well known. He lives from 1919 to 2004. And he's known for this particular style of bright colored still life paintings of flowers. So Bernard Cathelin here, this particular painting, I'm looking at this and I know that there are reproductions of these, and I know that there are prints which look much different from an original work of art. So I say to my client, I say, okay, I said, did you touch the texture of the piece? Very carefully, did you actually touch the surface? And can you show me a photograph of the side, the cross section, basically, so we can see whether or not we can see texture and whether or not the use of the color scheme is similar to the way brushstrokes were applied by Cathelin for his mature and characteristic works. So this is where you get into the nitty-gritty of having an art historian on your side. So that particular piece, dated 1960, was indeed an original, and I could tell from the photos. So when people go, you can't do it from photos, I can do a lot from photos. When they trained me right at Penn State for the Ph.D. in art history, let me tell you, everything was from photos. Because we couldn't just go off and get these paintings at this museum and that museum, and I hate to admit this, I'm so old, but we didn't have the internet to go doing the study either. So that particular cross-section was able to show me, in fact, not only that application of materials, but the brushstroke and also Cathelin's work. Here's the kicker. The piece is worth $7,500, and my client was able to acquire it because she was cleaning up after the estate sale. I want you to know what you're doing, and I want you to know what you're selling off. Here's the most interesting, one of the most interesting examples. All of you know about my events. I hope many of you will continue to come to my events. I appreciate those of you who drive to my events and come here and there, bring an object, bring your grandmother, bring whomever. I really appreciate it. The events are an awful lot of fun. And in fact, you can of course bring objects. Well, this young man actually brought objects to my event. He went to an estate sale and he made an investment. He invested $300 on a group of jewelry. It was in a jewelry box. He went into the estate sale. He looked in this jewelry box and he said, yeah, you know what? How much you want for all the jewelry in the box? The estate sale seller said, I want $300, and, took the pieces, paid the bill, took the pieces. Okay. So the pieces that he purchased were not unlike some of the pieces that I'm showing you here. So figural animal pieces. So animal pins in the form of animals, right? In this case, fish. I love fish. I was a swimmer always, and I love fish. So fish is one of the things that I love. And also this one has a frog with an inset gemstone, right? Ruby eyes, very small ruby eyes, but they're pins and they're figural. So they're cast in gold. And then basically you might have an accent piece. Like for these that my event attendee actually had, these are cats and some raccoons, and you can see, in fact, the cat and the raccoon, they have little diamond accents on those particular pieces. All 4 of those 18-karat gold pins he purchased for that same $300. And this set, which is emeralds set with diamonds around the emerald ring and the emerald earrings for the same $300. And this white gold, diamond accents, and black opal pendant and necklace for the same $300. So basically, you got to know a little bit about your jewelry. So you look for the marks like 14 karat gold or 750 or 585, all of course marks that I've given you on my other videos about jewelry. You want to look for the marks, you want to look for the quality, you want to see about those little accents, diamonds, maybe opals, sometimes the accents are onyx, all different. And you want to be able to identify and understand what that means. So this is a ruby ring, for example. This is a ruby ring, for example, and the ruby ring has, again, those accents of diamonds around it. Usually an accent diamond aren't very high quality. They're usually pretty small. They're not very, very clear, so clarity is usually not great, but they give a little bit of fire, a little bit of sparkle to a piece. That's what you look for. Really what you want to be looking for specifically with the opal is that's called a black opal. Looks like the background is black, and there are black opals and there are white opals. You can tell the difference. This is a ring with a white opal. White opals basically are in fact white in the background, sometimes called snow or winter opals, although you don't want to ever wear an opal in the winter because they tend to crack. So basically black opal. So this is a white opal, right? And then the one that my audience member from my event actually purchased was a black opal, white gold. So people are like, well, wait a minute, that looks like sterling silver. Sterling silver is not white gold. They're marked differently. They are different, okay? Now, white gold has a high content of silver with it, like, of course, you would think of sterling silver, but 925 is the mark for sterling silver or the word sterling. This particular necklace and the setting was white gold on this black opal pendant. The black opal pendant was worth $7,000. $7,000, he made a $300 investment. But hold on a minute, because I didn't tell you about, in fact, those 4 small pins that were figural like animals, the cat and the raccoons and such. Each of those are $250 each. So that's another $1,000. So now I'm at $8,500 for a $300 investment at an estate sale. And third is the set, the emerald set, enhanced with diamonds, in fact, around the emerald ring in 14 karat gold setting, as well as, of course, those 2 earrings, also emeralds. And emeralds are usually cloudy. When you look at an emerald, green, right, you are usually going to see a more cloudy kind of stone than you would if you looked at a garnet, for example, as if you think you could see right through it. So those particular emeralds, that set, about $2,000 for that set. Fantastic. So people will say, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. And I've told you many, many times, the valuable pieces are usually right there in front of you. Whether it's fine art or jewelry or other things, you've got to have a correct identification and you've got to know what you are looking at and in fact what it's really worth. So we had some great bargains by these folks. These folks were very kind to share this information with all of you so you can learn a little bit more about, again, these particular types of pieces. Bargains are out there, people. Don't think they're not, and the buyers are out there too. So when you hear other people, so-called experts, saying, oh no, you can't get that for it, oh, all these appraisals are high, all those appraisals are high, let me tell you, I've met the people, I've met the buyers and the sellers, and these particular pieces are great, great bargains. I hope you find some too, and I'm here to help.